Hello. So I think this is what we're never sure if it's great, but I have someone really special to introduce to everyone today. This is hello, Maggie.
Hello.
And hello. We have a bit of a lag, so we might interrupt each other, but that's okay. So I've been to introducing Maggie to everyone here. One of these people who is very, very positive minded and really, really great career outcomes in the very. So looking forward to sharing. Why don't you start off like you and I will. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? Who are you in a nutshell, Maggie?
All right. So I am Maggie. I live in Chicago. I worked in finance. I still kind of work in finance. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. But overall, Maggie, Chicago, I work in finance, and I'll talk about my transition in a little bit.
I think you're in finance because I know a couple. We're gonna really gonna resonate with similar. I want to know. So when you came across me and what it changed, like what if you look back way before we started working together, what was the situation?
You said what was the occupation? Is that what you said?
What was your situation?
Oh, the situation. Okay, I'm sorry. We're having technology always.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Of course. So it was actually around December of last year. I was working in finance. I really enjoyed actually, and I still do, my boss at the time and the company that I work for, but I didn't really want to stay in finance. I didn't really like the sector that I was in, which is healthcare. Always, we're kind of trying to advance in our career. So, and the position that I was in, the team was very small, so there wasn't much room for advancement. Not due to the company, just they didn't need anyone at a higher level, which is okay. So, with that being said, I was looking to change, switch into kind of a more operations focused role, and so trying to switch into operations, trying to switch an industry into hopefully a nonprofit space. And then obviously take a next step in terms of, salary and title and everything that everyone always is looking for. But I was just kind of looking through my sort of goals and ideas for 2019. This was at the end of 2018 when I came across Dahlia here, and I knew where I kind of wanted to go, or I had some ideas, but I was not really entirely sure how to go about it. So that's where you came in, and we started working, I think, at the beginning of this calendar year, maybe closer to February or March.
Hey, thanks for sharing that. So I think what's interesting there, so the first thing is that I've actually noticed a lot of the most successful people that I tend to have goals. Like they don't always even know what direction they want, but they have an idea that okay, and they start making a plan to. And I'm interested in know that you wanted to go in operations, but finance wasn't quite the right fit for you. What would that feel like led you to know? Okay, I need to do.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? What was the feeling that led to?
No problem. No, I'm wondering, know that finance was no longer the. What was that feed? You just know, okay, I need to make a change.
Yeah, of course. So I had done other work. Luckily, it's kind of a smaller business. So I was exposed to different parts of the business. And I still enjoy finance. I think it's very necessary, but I think it's really important too to really be, excited to kind of go to work. And I just felt like I was doing really well, but it wasn't as challenging as before. And maybe that was just the position or something. But I started working a little bit more in operations and strategy management within operations, and it was just a new challenge every day, and it was very exciting. And at the beginning of this year, I was able to work on like one or two projects here and there, but never really commit to that space full time. So that was really my transition over the course of the past few months. But I think that really just when you can come to work and know, like, anything that comes up on my desk is easy for me to fix and I have no challenges, then that you kind of feel stuck. And sometimes it's nice because you don't want to be just working at your capacity every single
That's
day.
right.
But it's too early to feel stuck. I don't think it's ever a good thing to feel stuck, but you should definitely not be
It's
experiencing
never a
that
good
at the
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely never a good thing to feel stuck, but yeah,
Right.
definitely too young to feel like, oh, is this all there is? And to already have reached a
Right.
plateau, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and so it was like you realized you'd reached a plateau. Things were too easy. There wasn't really a challenge. You weren't really growing. But then what you're saying is you weren't actually able to make a move elsewhere because the way your office is structured, the way things were, there was just no promotional opportunities, right? Or there was not really an opportunity to put you elsewhere at that time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think this is interesting because there are a lot of people I talk to who are feeling stuck and they're like, well, there's no way, with my current work structure to do anything different. And I think a lot of people get boxed in as well. Like they just see you as that person. And if you try to do something different, well, that's not your experience. Those aren't your skills. And plus they need you to do your usual job, even if you've hit that plateau, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, okay, so I'm curious. You had this goal, you knew that you wanted to make a change, and it sounds like part of the big goal was to actually start moving up. I know another aspect to this, which I think is really interesting with you, you wanted to get more involved in something that was mission oriented, like something that was really making an impact, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So
So
that
that was the
was
other part of it.
Yeah, that was the other thing which I was kind of considering was, do I want to stay within this organization? I mean, they are mission oriented, but my background is not in healthcare. So don't feel as, I don't feel like I'm making as tangible of a goal or of a difference as I wish I could. So the organization is mission driven, which is why I started working within it anyway, or at the first place, but not as much as I would like to. So I was kind of exploring options, switching sectors from healthcare to nonprofit, or more specifically like education or something of that sort. But that was so foreign to me in terms of I don't even know where to begin on that because that's super not my background. So yeah, that was another option I was exploring too.
Okay, so it sounds like you had your goals, you knew what you wanted, but you just did not have a path to actually get there.
Yeah.
Was there anything you tried, or you didn't know what to start, so you ended up just being in status quo, going to the office, doing the usual thing, or was there anything else you'd been trying to do in order to move up?
Yeah, so before this program, so I kind of went to, I mean, Chicago is a pretty easy city to get connected with. I have been volunteering for quite a bit of time, so I do spend a lot of my time doing a lot of work in a space that I'm passionate about, but for free. So I started kind of asking around people, and they were able to give me opportunities, but very similar to my volunteer organization. So it was a lot of more volunteer work, which is wonderful, and I think everyone should volunteer, of course, but there's only so much time in the day, so I couldn't add on to that. I went to a few networking sessions too. I think it's a lot of, being in a larger city helped, but I feel like a lot of those are great if you know exactly what you want, but it's hard to go and just kind of ask questions without knowing what you're even asking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of networking. I kind of applied to some positions which I thought were kind of a stretch, but I mean, you know what it's like when you just submit your resume and it's in the resume abyss somewhere.
Yeah. It's
So,
practically impossible.
right. So I gave up on that real quick. I mean, I
Yeah.
still go to the networking sessions every once in a while. You never know who you're going to run into, but
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to know what
Yeah.
your purpose is.
It's nice, right? It makes a difference. I mean, it makes you feel a bit better than when you're like, I'm not really sure what I want, but let's see
Right.
if I just manage to get ahead somehow. But I think that's really interesting what you're saying because it's that whole thing of, oh, I know I want something different. I've hit that plateau. And what I think is really great with you is that you didn't spend forever at a plateau going, oh yeah, I should make a change. I should do something, right? As soon as you reached that plateau, you started going, okay, how do I get to that next level? Because a lot of people, what I see happening sometimes is that it's very easy to stay at that plateau for a long, long time. And the longer you stay, the more you feel yourself starting to go downhill, like almost like you're undoing your own skills because you get too comfortable and because you're not getting challenged. And when we're not getting challenged, we actually can lose our confidence. Like people think that the better they are, if they're really great at their job, they have high confidence. But what I actually see happening is if you're too good at your job, you have nothing to be proud of because it's just day in and day out doing what you need to do, going home.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's what ended up happening is you just you're like, well, I don't have any like tangible things that I've done because it's all the same stuff that I've done for the past couple of years. And it's not quite an accomplishment anymore. It's just more of like a checklist item. And then when you start applying to these other jobs where you feel like you're mostly qualified, but maybe not entirely, exactly per what they're looking for, you kind of have this like imposter syndrome. You're like, who am I to think that I can even apply to, whatever it is. And you're just like, well, I'm just stupid. So honestly, it's so easy to go down that path.
It is easy. It is easy. And people will just send those applications going, well, maybe there's a chance. And, maybe there's a 0.05% chance or a 1% chance, but it's not really a strategy, right? And like you're saying, these networking events or sending the CVs, if you don't actually know what you want, then those can't go very far because it's like you need this coordinated approach, this kind of a specific plan to get to where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, so you tried the networking and all that, but you were realizing actually you weren't really sure, how do I say this, what you were doing, right? Like you were doing different things, but you could see, okay, I need something that's more directed. And so when you how did you discover this program and why did you decide to sign up? Because I know there is some skepticism there about like, is this really going to work? What is this thing?
Yeah, well, so I don't remember actually where this came up. It must have been somewhere on Facebook or something. Or maybe it was because I was just searching like how to switch jobs that like Google and the power of AdWords was like, this is what you need. Whatever happened, I'm not sure how I found this, but yeah, you're right. At first I saw that informational video that you have, and then I spoke to a representative, one of the ladies that works with you, and I was just like, honestly, I literally told her, I was like, I feel like this is not real. Like I need
like is this a scam? What is this? Yeah.
I think those are my exact words. I was like, this sounds too good to be true. It's just not possible. Like, great, I hope it works out for someone else. But I was like, no, this is just like not. And I work in finance, so this is like a lot of risk mitigation. I was like, it's just not real. So, but after a lot of talking, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give it a chance. I think that I have nothing to lose. And then finally, like the next day, I was able to connect with you. I was like, oh, this is a real life person. Like it's not. I don't know why it just like seemed too good to be true in my mind. So I'm happy it all worked out. But you never know on the internet. There's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of. I had also spoken to a lot of other. There's a lot of agencies and things, but you don't really feel like, there's like not a personalized plan. It's just kind of like, well, let's help you update your resume, or let's help you. I don't know, whatever it is, and it's just like not.
It's like tactics, I think, as opposed to actually like, what is your purpose? What do you want to do with your life? And there's different components of that. It's not just about the one job. It's about actually. Who are you, right? Who are you? And I think one of the big things is that a lot of people want to get a job, but they don't realize that they need to change into that person before anyone is going to give them that job.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think they'll become that person once they get the job. It's like, okay, I'll keep applying, I'll keep networking, and once someone gives me the opportunity, then I will be that person. But actually, you need to become that person ahead of time and know how to show others that you are that person who can do it in order for them to give you that opportunity in the first place.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so you got started, you were like, let's give this a try. Maybe, maybe it's not a scam. And then what was the first thing that happened after you got started? Like what was the first kind of breakthrough that you had?
Yeah, so I started off, well, so like I mentioned, and we kind of touched on this, I had a few different paths I was exploring. So on one hand, I was like exploring the transition of finance to operations. So I was looking through a lot of like corporate America typical operations type roles, not necessarily within a certain sector. And on the other hand, I was exploring anything nonprofit. So both the finance operations switch and then healthcare to nonprofit switch. And I think that like your first assignment that you gave out, I sent it back within like a couple hours because I was like, I know exactly what I want to do. Don't know
You
how
were
I'm going to do
so
it.
fast. It was amazing. I was like, wow, she's gonna get big results,
Yeah, I was
It
very
was
excited. I
incredible.
was like, this is because I think sometimes it's easy to know like some part of what you want, but not exactly how to achieve it. So I
Hmm.
think you kind of led the way. But I started, we going through the exercises, and once I finally realized that, I think the big thing for me was what do I have to offer someone else? Because it's kind of like a sales pitch, if you will. Whether you're realizing it or not, you have to sort of like prove what it is you know. And I think doing that, what was it, like the quick elevator pitch about yourself and really nailing that down and saying, like, to this is how I want to present myself, and knowing that about
Hmm.
yourself was just so important. And then finally, when I started sending out messages to people who would be interesting to talk to, I was so able to very quickly introduce myself and very tangibly like tell them why I wanted to talk to them. And after a while, I was able to start speaking with some people with I was interested in nonprofits, so I was able to speak with people in UNICEF in a lot of different sectors of UNICEF, since that was particularly the agency I was trying to reach out to, and I was able to feel confident because, like you mentioned, it was sort of that imposter syndrome of like, what do I even have to offer these people in terms of my background, and why would they think it's valuable when I'm not even in the same realm of the I'm not in education, I'm
Yeah,
not a
totally.
nonprofit.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You don't have that experience to show for the thing that you're trying to get.
right, exactly. So yeah, so once I finally had my first phone call, it was actually I know I started not targeting, but I started talking to people more my level first. But actually, the first
Hmm.
person that reached out to me was someone very senior within UNICEF,
Hmm.
and I was like panicking in a great way, but like still
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
what's going
It
on?
was amazing. It was amazing. And you started getting some job leads and everything. And then I remember I was going, so what's happening with the job leads? I mean, did you find something? And you were going, well, I think I'm going to take my time and see what I want to do. So you
Yeah.
were almost, collecting, just being in that position of you getting to make your own choice, you getting to decide as opposed to having to just take whatever it is that you can get. So I think that was
Right.
really great as well.
Right. And I think that's a lot easier when you're trying to approach people because you're really honestly, especially if you're trying to make a career change or like a location change or whatever it may be, you're really just trying to gather information. You're not, I mean, it's great to be able to sort of sell yourself, but even though I just mentioned that earlier, it's great to know how, like, what it is that you want. But I really just kind of ask them about themselves and like, do you like your position? Do you like where you live? Would you have done anything differently? What led you to this position? What qualifications do you need? And so when they kind of tell you all of that, you can kind of align it with, is this something I like? Or is this something I want to do? Is this something I can see myself doing? And then eventually, so the person that was in UNICEF, the data specialist, he manages the data specialist team. He was like, yeah, if you ever, unfortunately, I found out for that position I need a PhD, which I don't have. But he was like, if you ever go through your PhD program, give me a call back, or I'd be happy to discuss PhD programs with you. And it was just such a great connection. And a few months ago, he reached out because it was my birthday, and I was like, "How are you doing? I hope you're doing well." So that was nice.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyway, that was a huge breakthrough. And when he was going through his career path, I was like, oh, I've done that stuff. Like obviously he was way more senior, but it's like the way he started, I was like, oh, this is very similar to what I'm doing. And that sort of gives you a validation of I'm not an imposter. I have a very good, a position, or I've done a lot of things, and
You have value.
yeah, exactly. And I think that in combination with one of your assignments, which was, I think the question that really stuck out to me from one of your assignments was, if you didn't do this, who would miss out, or something of that nature. And I was like, oh, you're right. Like I can provide value in these ways. And that gave a lot of confidence. So on one hand, I was able to learn a lot about the nonprofit industry, in terms of where I want to fit in eventually. But on the other, I started networking with operations professionals in Chicago. Just once again, going out, collecting information, sort of thing, nothing crazy. But through just one of my meetings, I went and got coffee with someone who worked at KPMG, and he was like, oh, my team is hiring, and you sound like you're already doing a lot of this stuff at work. And I was like very surprised.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of the like similar things. I just didn't realize that
Exactly. And when you know how to express it properly, people start
yeah,
making these changes. And like, oh, wow, yeah, you would be the perfect fit. Even if it's, when you're just thinking about boxing yourself into jobs and sending that CV, it's all about having the perfect experience. And, maybe you want a career change. Maybe you want to do something different than what you've already done, which means you're not going to have that perfect boxed in CV. And so, yeah,
right.
that's where you need to do what you did, which is learn how to express yourself in new ways, learn how can those skills I already have actually apply to my new future direction, and then express that to people. And that's where they start getting it. And they're like, oh, you'd be perfect for this. And you go,
Yeah,
really? Okay.
exactly. And that's like I mean, it's such a validation for you as a person that that position didn't pan out, but then I was able to go back to my boss and be like, okay, listen, like I have these opportunities, and actually show that other people are finding my skills valuable. And so eventually we ended up
Yeah.
kind of moving within the organization, but it was, yeah, it's great to sort of get that kind of validation, even though, but I mean, I guess it kind of has to come from you, but it was,
Yeah, it's incredible to get actual, something concrete happening. And unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know which is the case, but a lot of times, a lot of people, will be like, oh, I want to get promoted, but they're not recognizing me, or they're promoting someone else, or they've boxed me in. And a lot of times I see people who will do everything they possibly can to get this promotion. Oh, it's impossible. We don't have budget, this and that. And the next thing, and then all of a sudden, if you get other job offers on the table, now you can get the promotion that you wanted. So that's where it's important to start, getting valued by other people. And then oftentimes that it looks like for you that worked really, really well. And now you're in a position that you're much happier about.
yes. So I was able to go to, because not only did that one work out, but I reached out to a couple of people in Chicago and ended up getting like a tangible offer as well. And I went back and I was like, listen, I'd love to stay in this capacity. Like, I think you're great. I think the company is great. And we were able to sort of keep I think the issue was there was not a headcount, but I was able to move all my projects over into a different space and and get a salary raise, which was wonderful.
It's amazing.
So now going into finance to operations, like I feel so excited. Like there's a lot of work that's challenging for me and exciting to be working on. So, even though I wanted to change finance to operations, then change sectors and maybe change location, everything, like that doesn't happen all at once. So big first step in operations. So I feel great about that. So maybe next step will be into nonprofit sector. We'll see.
Yeah, but the other amazing thing is also what you did within the nonprofit sector, right? Like,
Oh
tell us a
yeah.
little bit about, because sometimes, like you're saying, you have these decisions in your head, like, should I go nonprofit? Should I do this? Should I do finance? Or should I do operations? I kind of like both, or both are important to me, and all that all of that. And you did find a way to actually do both at the same time. So tell us what happened in terms of your volunteer work.
Yeah, of course. So, well, when I was doing my research with calling people, or not calling necessarily, but speaking to people who are in the nonprofit sector, kind of in these larger companies, I realized that they're kind of further removed from the problem, or, even though it's very necessary that they do the work they're doing, I like being sort of more on the ground. And I have been working with this volunteer organization in Chicago for 4 years or so. And with that being said, so we have elections coming up. Well, they've already gone through, but I would have still been presented the opportunity a few months ago to sort of apply or run for president. But I honestly don't think that if I hadn't taken this or done this journey, I don't think I would have applied for it, because I've been with it for 4 years, but I'm still by far one of the youngest people in this group, in this nonprofit group. And I just, once again, imposter syndrome. I was like, who do I think I am to like run this organization? But honestly, then I like thought about it, and I was like, I do so much work. I've added so much value over the past few years. And I was able to sit down, write down everything that I've accomplished with them. And so starting 2020, I'll be running the organization. So I'm super excited.
That's amazing. You're the president.
Yes. Not as until January 1st, but still.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And so we're going to be doing a lot of global goals related stuff in the city of Chicago, and just working with local organizations. And so that's something I'm very passionate about. So it's kind of nice to be able to make both those shifts.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's incredible. And it's so interesting. Like when you think, oh, maybe I'm too young, maybe I don't have this, maybe I don't have that. But it sounds like you've really started having the same tools that you used for your career change, you were able to use to move up within the nonprofit as well. And it's interesting to see those tools play out like in different areas of your life, because it all comes down to up-leveling who you actually are as a person, and having the processes to basically get what you want out of life, like set that goal and then actually make it happen. Because once you do that internal work so that you believe that you can be that person and you become that person, and then when you have the tools to also communicate that to the outside world, that is where you can start to get these kinds of opportunities, whether that is like you did, moving up within the organization, becoming the next president of that nonprofit, or whether it's moving up and getting promoted where you in your current company, or getting other job offers. Like you can use those tools in so many different ways.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of us maybe know what it is we want, but it's difficult to find those identifying steps to actually get there, which is where this was very helpful.
Yeah, and I think what I see with people, like I think in your case, that's exactly it. You knew what you wanted, what you wanted, but like you're saying, there was that gap that was, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, what do I do? And I know as soon as you joined the program, you were implementing so quickly, because now you had the steps, and that's why the first mission, you had it back to me within the hour or something crazy like that. And then you just went step 1, step 2, step 3, and you went through it, and you were like, okay, and I arrived. I got what I wanted, right? Yeah. There are some people don't know what they want, and if they knew what they wanted, they might know what steps to take. And a lot of people don't know what they want, and even if they did, they still don't know the steps. So that's really, really interesting. But anyway, you can use the same strategy like for the next goals that you've set and the next things that you're going to accomplish, because obviously this is not the end, right? So
exactly.
What is next? What are your next ambitions? What else do you plan to do?
Yeah, so well, through these conversations that I've had with especially the people in the nonprofit sector, I realized that I really wanted to have a more local change or local impact, I guess, and kind of work more locally than I do from a higher level on that note. So I'm kind of using this 2-year tenure with this nonprofit as a pilot, if you will, for eventually beginning my own global goals related firm. We'll see how that goes. But I think that my experience here within the company with operations and being able to touch finance, marketing, all that stuff is really just a setup for being able to either do it on the side or something like that. But I love doing work as it relates to the global goals. I think it's very important. And I think that eventually, with these two experiences, I think that I'll be able to start doing this on my own, hopefully. So, and I think that, like you said, the steps are just the same. So, I'm still thinking about how is this going to add value? Who is this going to add value to? Because once you feel confident in that, you can really sort of present it in a way that makes sense. And then also, then you also know that it's not personal, and then maybe this person just doesn't need value in their life in this sort of way, and that's totally okay. Right. So yeah, so I'll have to reach back out to you guys and let you know how that goes. But that's still a little bit further away.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Amazing. No, I'm super, super happy for you. And I want to know if you have any final words, like what's the advice that you would give someone who is facing some of the challenges that you were facing before? Like whether it's someone who wants to get promoted but is just stuck, or someone who knows their goal, really wants that goal, but just does not know those steps.
Yeah, of course. So I think that I was, as you mentioned, I like flew through the first part of the program. The last part I kind of slowed down because I was just gathering a bunch of information. And I think that's probably to me the part where it's easiest to get stuck, because it's fun to think of like what you want and ideally what your goals are and stuff like that. But once you start talking to people, it's so easy to just be like, this is too scary. Like, so what I did, and I think I remember showing you my big spreadsheet of people I was contacting. Once again, in finance, everything's in a spreadsheet. So I also used to work in sales for a little while, and I didn't like sales because I think it's too pushy. But one important thing I remember was that 90% of people are going to reject you, and 1%. So if you reach out to 10 people, ideally one person is going to get back to you, and that's so important because when you send out 5 emails and all 5 people don't get back to you, I mean, it's not you. I mean, like, how many times do you ignore an email or a LinkedIn message? Like, we do it all the time. So it's so easy to get stuck on that. But honestly, like, the more people you contact, the more people you'll get in contact with. And then the more people will kind of get to know you. And it's kind of a snowball from there. But you have to really just push through that first, few contacts or emails that you send to people. And obviously you do a great job of coaching us through that and making the message not sound like, hi, my name is Maggie and I want a job, help me.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many people's messages sound like that, or do sound salesy, or do sound like you're just trying to get something, because that is what a lot of people are trying to do. They're like, well, I do want this job, or I do want to network, and I do want to get contacts and all this kind of thing. But then striking that balance in your communication to actually make it about them is a whole other story, right? While obviously saying who you are and what it is that you have to offer.
Right. And people love talking about themselves. So, if you kind of give them that window, they're more likely to help you. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess my words of advice then are just kind of whatever part for you is the difficult part, whether it's figuring out your goals or whether it's eventually kind of talking to people who are within this industry that you want to break into, just push through it. Because it's like once you get over that little hurdle of whatever it is that makes you nervous, you'll end up with the results that you want. So good luck to everyone going through the program. I'm sure you all do great since you've got Dahlia helping you out.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. So nice of you to come on here. I'm really, really happy to hear about everything happening in your life. And I have no doubt, I'm sure there's not a single person watching who has any doubt that you're going to accomplish basically anything it is that you decide to do. And I'm not just saying that, to be nice or whatever. I mean, I think, everyone can see that. And I think employers and other contacts can see that as well. And that's also why you're able to move up so quickly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You've given me such great tools to use, and they're applicable in every situation. So,
all right, Maggie. Well, thank you so much. We will be in touch. Anyone who has any comment, any question for me or for Maggie can just leave it below and we'll be happy to answer it. And if anyone also wants to get some help with reaching their career goals, whether that's figuring out what you want or getting a promotion or any of those bits that are keeping you stuck and keeping you at a plateau, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a message and we'll discuss to see what you would need to do in order to actually get unstuck. All right. Have a wonderful day, Maggie. Thanks again. Anyone who's watching, good day to you as well. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.